Cosmic Conversations. I'm your host, Sheila Seppi, and I want to thank all of you for joining us, whether you're watching us live or on replay. Thank you so very much for being here. Now, tonight, our guest is Siobhan Nicolau, and Siobhan is a certified hypnotherapist. She's a published author, spiritual mentor. She is a master medium, master alchemist, a soul reader, a metaphysician, and she has been cultured for 35 years through extensive personal experience. And tonight she is going to talk with us about the modes of today's healing modalities, our practices, and talk to us about the importance of how we can adjust to what is more benefiting the emerging consciousness of duality in our language and in application. So I want to welcome you so very much and thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's absolutely great to have you here. We kind of met through happenstance and you sent me a ton of information and I was like, oh my gosh, I really need to get to know this lady. So I'm really glad that you did reach out. I want to thank you so much for being here. And if you'll go ahead and share with our audience a little bit about what you wanted to present tonight, and then we'll have some questions.
Well, thank you so much for the sweet introduction. Well, I'll tell you a little bit about me. I come originally from California, and I began my process in 1988 at the time of the harmonic convergence. That was when consciousness shifted in a big way on the planet, and a lot of us got swooped up at that time and got the doors opened within ourselves to set us on the path of the light. And when I got into this type of work in the beginning, it was through channeling. That was the thing that a lot of people, you know how spirit kind of goes in waves of things, like here come the channels and here come the angel people and all this stuff. And so I got into channeling, but it was really to find this woman who helped me open the door within my own within my first breaking through the layers of denial within my own healing. And so she helped me to the degree that she could. I became a channel, took channeling classes, taught channeling, and had fun. And then I was introduced to these tools of the use of the golden light. And the golden light, to many people in different cultures and religions and things, it would be the light of Christ, or the Christ consciousness, or unconditional love, or the love of God. However you want to slice it, it comes up unconditional love. And they actually started governing the information. They told me they were going to do that, so I would learn to know that I was the information I was seeking outside of myself. And my ego had a field day with that. Because it's really nice to know a bunch of stuff, but when your reality doesn't kind of reflect what you know, then there's some duality going on. So anyway, it set me on the path of big time humility, which I still am in to this day, as I constantly go through the process of refining my soul. And I learned so much along the way, and as I evolve, so does my work. And so fast forward all these years of being cultured in this way of coming to love within myself, my tools have evolved, my work has evolved as I have evolved. And so here we are, fast forward to 2014. We had a big shift in the consciousness then. I'm sure a lot of you were on that swoop where all of a sudden it became more about the God consciousness, which is a little different than the consciousness of unconditional love. Even though it is love, it's a different kind of love. And so what I've discovered in this path, and I'm working on my second book, is which gives all the particulars on all of that, is the difference between the two vibrations and their applications in this dimension. Okay, so what we've discovered is that golden light, that unconditional love, this is why Yeshua and all the other golden light masters keep coming back, because humans just don't want to get that peace, right? And they say all you need is love, and love heals all, and it still remains a concept in a lot of people's lives rather than a way of being within themselves. And so through the tools, meditations and activations and mentoring and classes and things that I do for people, I help them reawaken that consciousness within themselves.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so you can get to know yourself as the consciousness of love that you're actually made of, and then address everything in your life from that consciousness. And in that consciousness of love, there is no duality. So this non-dual level of God consciousness is my ego had a field day merging now into these modalities that are ready for an overhaul. So we've worked with psychologists, and we've worked with other practitioners in different ways, some dealing with people with mental illness, even schizophrenia, to help them learn how to work with this consciousness of love and upgrade their modalities to be more befitting of the non-dual consciousness we're moving into. Love is a step on the path, that unconditional love, to the emergence of God within that love. And so we're moving at a pretty rapid clip. And so what's been getting a lot of attention these days is emotions, but people don't understand it from the perspective that of actually doing the work. They might read the books and kind of investigate and move things around, but there's a whole lot of different levels of how to come to love within yourself and how to apply that in the modalities of today.
Awesome. Now,
yeah.
When you're working with these individuals, do you actually teach them like meditation practices, or how do they incorporate this into their, day-to-day life?
Okay, so we do begin with meditation, because we have found for ourselves that it is the best way to introduce the parts of you that don't know that they too are love to the consciousness of love that they are. And so by reacquainting yourself, not just by projecting it mentally, but really learning how to work it from a feeling level and a visual level, then they awaken the consciousness through meditation. Now, many times when we begin to work with somebody, they're ready for an immediate activation. So we give them the activation. So it'll help them even soften and allow the consciousness to move more easily through the body. Because everything in this dimension is made from that love of God. It happens to be the color gold. And so we stick with the golden light in this way, and it reawakens that consciousness, that vibration within the physical body. Now, emotional energy is part of the physical experience. You get emotional baggage because you decide to take on a body, and it begins at the time you're conceived. Because this world is made of emotions, and they're two, they walk hand in hand. So the emotional body begins to form within the physical body from the time that you're conceived. As your vessel is being built inside of a womb, it is also being imprinted with waves of energy from within and around this fetus. And so it's just part of the experience. And so this is why you get all your emotional baggage, so to speak, in this life between conception and about age 8. And so during that time, you're not able to discern, you're just absorbing all this energy, and then your life reflects it, because everything in this reality works on resonance. Okay. So it just becomes part of the experience, where if we look at it from an energetic perspective, we realize we have more control over it. But just by learning to love ourselves and get ourselves beyond the need to control anything. Because in the perspective of non-duality that's gained through the transformation of the emotional energy, you don't see things as what you've been taught are darkness. You recognize yourself as love and everything that doesn't know itself to be love. And the only way what doesn't know itself to, it can come to love is in the unwavering presence of love that you make conscious within you. So love doesn't divide, it doesn't judge, it just presents itself in a way that can soften it until it comes to know the truth of itself. So this is the inner alchemy transformational process. It's not mental at all.
Right. So now, do you have courses that you teach people how to do this? And I see you're saying yes. So
yeah, absolutely.
Can you tell us a little bit about your courses, where people can find that, sign up for them, etc.?
Sure. My website is myname.com, and it's kind of a mouthful. It's Siobhan, so S as in Sam, I-O, B as in boy, HANNICOLAOU.com.
Now, is that an Irish name?
It is Gaelic, yes.
Okay. I
Not
thought
many
it
people
was.
know that. Yes, it is a good Irish name. I love my name. And so the courses that we have one specifically designed to help people in their modalities, say an acupuncturist or something like that. And they say, okay, how can we make this a little different? And it's not just frequencies. You know how they say, and Einstein's correct, the future of medicine will be frequency, but then people get tuning forks and they think that that's, but if that's what worked, then we'd all be healed. So, there has to be other elements of what these modalities do, which is consciousness, because you cannot solve a problem with the same consciousness that created it. So if love doesn't do, love just loves. So when you become the presence of love, things just change on their own. There's nothing to do but be that love. And so when we're working with different tools, we help them connect and become the consciousness within themselves and then apply it in different ways to the modality so the modality itself evolves. So we have one for specific modalities. We have a course for house healing, which I also do. We recognize that a house is like a body, and emotional energy gets dumped into a home just like it does a body. And then the house becomes an emotional and physical wreck because of it, because the energy doesn't dissipate in this dimension. It has to transform. It can transform from one substance to another, but it can't just be released or sent away or cut off or anything like that, because that plays in the world of duality, not in the world of higher consciousness.
Right.
So we heal a lot of homes in that way. So we have a whole 6-month course on how to heal the homes. We also have another class we work in with psychologists specifically to help them, teach them some tools around holding space for people and working with people on other levels with the tools of higher consciousness to help them in their spiritual growth. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. One of the things I'm curious about is when you're working with someone and you're teaching them to drop into the essence of love, how do you teach people to do that? A lot of people say love comes from within you, and learning to love is a technique all of its own, it sounds. So I would be curious to hear a little bit more about that.
Okay. So the love that we're speaking of, the higher consciousness, that is the love that you are, is the first breath you inhale when you come out of the womb. So you cry, you inhale that breath, that is the higher consciousness that then anchors itself into the solar plexus when you're born. Before that, the vessel is a container. It is being grown for the purpose to house this higher consciousness. Now, in truth, the body itself is higher consciousness. It is also spirit. And so is the emotional energy that is part of the physical process. But you're never going to experience yourself as that consciousness unless you make it conscious. So you can know till the ends of the earth that your body is made of light, but do you have the experience of your body as light? And that's the difference. So what we have, we teach people through meditation to reacquaint themselves with the love that they are. Now, people know it, but they don't experience it. And one of the reasons for that is because we're working with this love being that is connected to your solar plexus by, a silver cord. And we're never taught to work with it consciously. We're told that it's there, but we're not taught how to work with it. This is the spirit that gives you life every single millisecond of your day. It's the only reason you wake up in the morning. It's the only reason you even open your eyes. And so we have to show our spirit respect and reverence and for the fact that it is even there. And so we create this relationship with it. So the reason that people don't know it is because they're not taught to appreciate it. And also because that golden bubble of your loving being will drift mostly out of the body, because it's never taught it needs to be in it. So when humans make the spiritual and mental realms the most important, because that's how you get your validation of who you are by what you do rather than who you are, how much you know rather than who you are, and all these other things. The light tends to be concentrated in these realms to give us our sense of worth, and we drive our energy up and out of the body to do more in the world. Well, what that does in the world of energy is it leaves the rest of the physical body unbuffered from the world. Now, the world is made of positive and negative energy. Mm-hmm. And because you're saturated with negative emotion from the time you're small, no fault of your own or anyone else's, it's just the way it is in the world of energy, you start to interact with things in resonance. Now, when you learn to keep that golden spirit all the way down below your feet and work with it consciously, it creates what we call a buffer from duality. So when you're buffered in the presence of your loving being, it's not a way that you go, let me get out my tools and protect myself with all this, keep everything away. Well, golden light is about non-resistance. Because if you're doing something to protect yourself from what you believe is evil out there, then you're creating more of the problem rather than actually being part of the solution. So love doesn't care. It's like Yeshua walking through the Garden of Gethsemane, where he's got the serpent coming at him and he's saying, you can't do this. And he's just not even paying attention. He's like, he knows it's there, but he's just, don't look, keep walking. And it's not in any kind of resistance. It's just allowing that to be there while you're hanging on and being strong in your love. Okay. So you learn the difference between how a lot of spiritual people use energy to divide rather than use love to remain whole within themselves. Okay. So you use it as a buffer. And what that does is it keeps the energy of duality from being able to really affect you throughout your day. You might be aware of how it makes you feel, but what the gift is that you don't become reactive to how you feel, because reaction to a feeling then becomes an emotion. And that's what we experience in the world all the time in these projections. Okay, so we need to work with that being more consciously. Meditation is a wonderful way. You don't need to meditate for hours. And I just laugh at the way we've meditated for so many years, where we sit down in the morning and we get all connected. We feel so good that we disconnect and pop up and go about our day to sit down at the end of the day and get connected again. And what it is now, it's learning how to work consciously with this being and learn how to stay in that bubble. Learn how to work with it. So the whole of your spine becomes this lighted presence that just radiates through the whole of your body and creates this beautiful bubble of love that you learn to walk within and work with more consciously. And that way you're not as affected by the things that are going on in the world, and you're quite happy in your own world. You literally create your own little microclimate of sunshine.
Right. So, you were mentioning how if we don't activate and work with that golden bubble, that it kind of ends up floating away.
It does.
How can people anchor that back in if it's already floated away? Can they just call that back in?
Yes, absolutely. You make it conscious. You get up. This is what I recommend people do, is when you're lying in bed, before you even open your beautiful eyes, just give thanks. Thank you, Spirit, for coming back into my body and giving me another day. And what I do is I give thanks, but then I listen, because I know what I have to do the next day, but so does my spirit. And so it's almost as if there is this awareness of things. Like I get information that are related to what I have to do. And I just listen for a while and communicate and give thanks and then get up. And what I'm aware of is you become really self-aware through grounding. We really recommend in meditation that you work with grounding, even when you're walking around within the bubble of being. Because when you're grounded, you're present. And when you're present, you're self-aware. And when you're self-aware, these subtle things that we're getting used to dealing with, like your spirit, we become more aware of when it's drifting out of the body, because we notice the difference. We notice the difference. So if you look at it as a balloon with a string to your solar plexus, you got to kind of move that balloon down. You just speak to it, you know where it is. And I literally wake up and go, listen, I need you down below my feet. Every waking moment of my day, I can't do what God wants me to do. I can't be solid in myself. I can't serve others. I can't do anything without you. And I have to be really strong with myself. It's because we're changing a huge program. We've never been taught that, the spirit belongs in our form, and that's how we, so we just work with it, whether it's a big sphere for you and you just work with bringing that balloon down and get to know the difference of when it's riding up and when it's down or when it's all up here. Usually anxiety is what gets people initially, because they're used to that anxiety. When they realize that the anxiety is only because that bubble's drifting so far out of the body goes into panic mode. That's why they call it a panic attack, because the body innately knows, hey, if that spirit's detached, I'm dead. So it does everything it can to try to reclaim it back into the body. So that's what a panic attack actually is. Yeah. So we work with, tuning into it on a feeling level. And that comes from working with a golden light grounding meditation. So you know what the energy feels like in your body. You know what it feels like to be grounded. And then you just work with, the being aware of it when you're not. So it takes consistency.
Now, how long is this meditation, the golden?
It varies. We don't recommend you sit and meditate for really any longer than you have to. I think the reason that meditations in some ways are longer is because it usually takes people a long time to get out of their head long enough to relax. And so what we work on first is helping people just remember that, we're taught to see everything with the third eye. We're taught that everything is done up here, and we need to learn to get out of that. We need to learn to just let that go, drop the energy down to the center right above the navel. And so the quicker you can train yourself to do that, to just allow the mind to go blank, and, feel safe in that, then the quicker you can get on with the meditation. I'd say probably no more than 15 minutes at a time. And if it takes you 10 minutes to get out of your head and let the body relax, then fine. Our meditations, though, we kind of talk you down first. And then once you get familiar with what it's like, because what you're doing when you're listening to that type of a guided meditation is you're training the body to take the cues. So when you sit down, the body knows it's meditation time. Lots of times it just starts to automatically relax on its own. And then we're talking to you in a guided meditation to where we are encouraging you to tune in and feel these muscle groups, and then let them soften, and each muscle group all the way down and soften, because when you soften, you're allowing. Now, when you're softening, you're allowing that bubble of being to naturally descend into the body on its own. But most people are running real uptight all the time. And so the bubble just pops up here. It stays in the mind because people are thinking too much. When you learn how to even out your energy, there's no need to think. Your mind isn't even designed to think. It's not supposed to think. It's supposed to listen. The presence of your being is like listening to the silence and interpreting without words what to do, what not to do. And it's not through a thinking process at all. There's no thought at all. I'm into thoughtlessness, not mindlessness, mindfulness. Mindlessness works for me because I know I can trust the silence of my being. So it's working with people to feel safe within that new state and to trust that without the mind going off, that they'll be just fine. But you learn how to manage your energy a lot differently.
I think that is so important because I work with people all the time that tell me they have so many voices going on inside their head. And, of course, I laugh to myself. It's like, I don't have anything going on up there. I have total silence, but I just can't imagine. I mean, really, it's hard for me to wrap my brain around the noise that so many people talk about having in their head. Well, and it sounds like this technique would be ideal to help calm that.
Yeah, it does, because you can't be grounded and be thinking at the same time. And you know, you really have to train that mind, because the mind is what we're taught is king. And as you learn, as you're beginning to surrender to a silence, to something other than mind, the mind is going to go wacky trying to keep you in the program, because number one, it really thinks it, and it has to a lot of degrees, it keeps a lot of people safe, because they live in the world of division, which is based in fear, and the mind is always trying to strategize and everything their way out of it. But when you're just love and not vibrating with the division in the world, then you move about it unheeded. You're literally not a vibrational match to what's going on in the world. You know, in the world, not of the world. So
Exactly.
that's the whole deal, is to just learn that, you know, and we have techniques for that too. And people that's why they call doubt a shadow. And when it's taking you to the ground, you just let it take you to the ground, and you know, we should breathe through it and then become that consciousness, you know, consciously drop that ball of light and take a nice deep golden light breath. Feel that love radiating through every cell, and then address the mind. Because if you are addressing the mind from the same consciousness that it is coming at you from, then you are in duality, right? So when you're in love, you can come up with a little saying like, I am love, you are love, and we're love. And you're saying it from that, you're declaring that from that consciousness of love. So there is no division in it. There's no pushback. Okay. So in all these different modalities, though, are ways that your language begins to change that speaks to the truth of that non-duality. So many people are doing to exact a specific result, which by definition is manipulation. When in love, there's no reason to do that. When you become that love, you can literally connect to someone on that level of love, have them bring it about within their experience, and have transformations happen right, you know, with them. It's like connecting on that higher consciousness level and guiding them through their experience. We have a workshop called the Art of Self-Healing, and that works more with the hands-on or hands above approach. What we've realized over these many years of showing people how to do it is if they're sitting up, they're more likely to be in their mind, trying to figure out what you're telling them and to do it right. So when we have somebody on a table, they go automatically, their body knows it's time to relax. And then we can more easily get them into that altered state, you know, into the calm state, into the receptive mode, and then work with them with the consciousness of the golden light that they're also connecting to transform this emotional energy within the physical body. So it's not the tool that you use, it's the consciousness that goes with the tool that you use. So people say, well, why don't, like when we're doing houses, when I'm clearing a house, and I've, you know, dealt with healed a lot of houses that are very, very wrecked, a lot of dramatic things in the world of dark and light. And people have helped me on certain projects. And it's one lovely couple that I worked with, very, very sweet beings. They said, but why? Why do we use the golden light instead of just taking Saint Germain's violet flame and running it through like a funnel cloud to do away with it? And I said, well, because then you're looking at something as if there's something wrong with it that needs to be fixed. But love doesn't think like that, because love doesn't care. Love just loves. That's one of our sayings. So when you have to face yourself, if you're facing yourself or in a situation from a judgmental perspective, you're already in division. So how is that going to affect what you're really trying to do? So if you just approach it with love without a judgment, then things can really happen and heal. And so I told them, I said, all right, well, because when we heal a home, I'm working with that home every single day for at least 90 days after. Because we're not just transforming the emotional energy within the house. we're transforming the house itself. Because these energies live within form, because that's part of the physical experience. I don't care whether you're a physical human body or a house body. I mean, I've put my hand on walls in house before and heard the arguments that still live in them. So the, energy can transform. So that's the work we do. And I said, all right, great. So this was a house where it happened to have a murder happen in it. There was a lot of really nefarious people who had lived in this house on this land. And for 3 months, we're working on it every day together. And they kind of got their head around, okay, well, this is your job and you're bringing us in, so we'll do it the way you want. And I knew they could, because they're such heartfelt and wonderful people. They're not in their, we know how to do it right thing. And at the end of the time, we were noticing on the property that there were automatically balls of soft pink light. There were balls of soft violet light. So the higher levels, it's like unconditional love is a tool to heal duality, and everything that's higher, it emerges from within non-duality. So all these colors that are within the gold naturally emerge when the duality has been, shifted. So it's quite beautiful experience when you just trust that love is enough, and that's all you need is love, and you give it the time to work and the consciousness to back it up, and a lot of wonderful things happen.
That's awesome. And so when you go into the homes,
yes,
are you bringing any tools with you other than love? Are you using purely the technique of harnessing and sharing love to clear the spaces, or do you have other techniques that you incorporate?
Well, it doesn't look like we're doing much. People say, they think they can just walk through a house with sage and that's going to do it, but it'll make, the dog sneeze, but it's really not going to do much, because it's not the sage that does the work. So there are things I'm inspired to do, and every job is different. So I know what to do when I get there. And that's the way it's always been. I'm on a need to know basis is how spirit runs my program. So it's kind of funny in some situations where I'm just listening as to what I'm supposed to wear. And I didn't really know what I was going to in this one job, and I don't want to know. I just kind of don't want to know. I really don't want to know. I don't think about it. I just trust and go. I listen and obey, right? So those spirits just letting me know as I'm preparing about a week or so before this job, and they're telling me to wear black leather. And I just like, okay. Well, I didn't question it. I was just went out and got myself some black leather pants, and went out and got a black top, and closed-toed shoes were on what they wanted me to wear. And so I did all of that, and I show up at the house, and it was the house of a motorcycle gang. And I'm like, wow. And I showed up with 24 roses, because that's what I was supposed to do. And it was a really interesting job. And I was happy to be of service in the light. And people would, the people I was working with at the time says, what are we doing here? And I said, we're doing what God is asking us to do. These people want this. We'll give them everything we got. And we did. So I don't know. And then go ahead.
I'm sorry. Are there techniques that you can share with our audience on things that they could do in their own home to kind of lift the spirit of the house?
Yes, absolutely. We would recommend that you start working with the golden light meditation, because you're literally calling that vibration of unconditional love in and through your body. And even we have you work, once you get familiar with that, we have you work with seeing the golden ball above the house and pouring that golden light into the top of the house and bringing it down through the house, and imagining the golden light going through your, the frame and the every little thread of insulation and every wire and every pipe. And you use your imagination to, envisage the house and what it would look like to have this golden light just saturating the whole thing. And so you imagine it going down through the walls and through the 2x4s and through the pipes and the wiring and everything. And you bring it all the way down. And that really just grounds your house. We would invite you to ground the energy of your house as you do your own body, and make the love light that your house is made of conscious within it as well. Because everything in this dimension is made from that same thing. So it can be turned back into itself, but it can't do it on its own.
So where would people learn about the golden light meditation? Do you have that printed on your website? Is it in your book?
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. You can go to my website, and then they have MP3s that you can download.
Can you share that address again for people?
Absolutely. SiobhanNicolau.com. So S as in Sam, I-O, B as in boy, H-A-N, NICOLAOU.com. If anyone on this program would like to email me, I'd be happy to send you a complimentary MP3 to get you started if you'd like. So the email
Can you
address.
Share that? Yes. Thank you.
The easiest email address would be M3. So it's M and the number 3, M light @gmail.com. So M number 3, M light @gmail.com. And I'll be happy to send you an MP3. So how we came into all of this knowledge was really through the inner work. And I can't emphasize that enough, because the more that you awaken and reclaim the light of your soul, the more you reclaim the knowledge that is there within you. And it just takes you to being connected to the source of all knowledge. And as you evolve, so does your information, so does your everything. And it all evolves through your own experience.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Experience teaches, words don't teach.
I was going to ask you, a lot of times when I'm talking with people, there's been one moment in their life that was either like an aha moment, or there was this herald that began to build within them to where they knew this was exactly what they had to do. And I'm wondering, how did you come to this work?
Well, to the whole body of light working was when my life had hit its darkest time. I mean, I never even really realized there was such a thing as light in my life the way I grew up. We were raised Catholic, but let's face it, not a whole lot of light I found in that. And, because it was just, and so when I found out actually there was a way to heal, my pain had hit a threshold, and I really didn't even really realize how much pain I was in, because I was so perfect at living halfway, if not most of the way out of my body, but I was the perfect model of society, number 1 in sales all the time, working out at the gym, always looking perfect and all these other things, and, everything society deems reasonable. But I also had a real good time in those days of drinking alcohol. I realized the difference years later is that I had a habit of life that way. It wasn't really an addiction, it was a habit. But, because we had so many parties to go to, right? With baptisms and weddings and retirement and all these other fun things. And this was just a part of our life at the time. So my first book is all about my journey from my awakening to 2015. And it's called The Absence of Evil, Love's Reclamation of the Soul. You can also purchase that on my website, and it's available as a ebook as well from my website. It's really an interesting ride, because it's been nothing less than that. That was a wake-up call that I got when pain hit the threshold and life was just, and then opened the door to meditation, and it was like the hand reached through the door and said, "We've got her," and pulled me back, shut the door, and my life's been fun ever since. Been challenging, but worth all of the challenges to come to love within myself. But when I found the golden light tools, that was after I had been channeling and had ripped the lid off of my own denial and really began my own inner healing work. And that was a big turning point for me, because I realized the difference between what white light does in this dimension and what golden light does in this dimension, and why that is. And it's simply just a dimensional difference. People don't understand, what they're doing to create more division in the way that they use light, or whether they're coming to love and being part of the solution, which is really the solution.
So can you share with us the difference between the two, if someone is utilizing the white light versus the benefits that they may receive from the golden light?
Well, white light says, I need to protect myself from that which is out there. And it creates division in that very statement. So empowers duality by saying there's something evil out there. But you see, golden light doesn't see that. It approaches everything with love, because it recognizes everything as love, regardless of what it looks like, smells like, tastes like, feels like, or sounds like. There is no such thing in truth as darkness. In this world, it's made of this shadow play. So that's people's experience. And so everybody agrees that it's real, but there's only love here, and that which doesn't know itself to be the love that it is. And the only way I have found to awaken the many things within myself that didn't feel worthy of the love that I was bringing to them was through the continuation and the consistency of being the loving presence, until it discovered that within itself. And some of these things take longer than others, because unworthiness runs real deep. And there are times in life and people in life and situations in life that, we just have to allow. Sometimes it feels like there isn't enough love in the world. When something doesn't want your love, don't try to give it to it. Just be the presence of it.
Beautiful, beautiful. So we're almost like at a quarter till. That was very, very fast. And what I'd like to do is go ahead and open up to see if there's anyone that has any questions, or if they need any kind of clarification. So does anyone have any questions for Siobhan right now? And if you do, you can go ahead and raise your hand, come off of mute. Okay. All right, Susie.
So what's the difference between the purple light and the gold light, the purple flame?
I love Saint Germain. What it is Saint Germain is this beautiful light of transmutation that works on higher levels than what can effectively work with duality. And like we explained in the way that we healed that house where all these things had happened on that land, I was encouraging my colleagues to just use golden light to see what would happen. Because golden light is just something that you make available, not do something with. It's the way that you approach everything with it. So purple light or violet light is contained within the golden light because it is everything. And then what happens, I have found through this work of just making the golden light enough, is that the purple light tends to arise from within it. It's a higher vibrational frequency than, how do I explain this? It creates a doing rather than a being in the work itself, which creates separation.
Wow. Okay. Okay. So I don't always see ours, but recently I've been seeing gold behind a few people. So so what is that? That's it's a golden light. So that means they're not, they don't have much duality. They're just, is that kind of,
Well, a golden light is what we're all made of. It's everything in this dimension is made of golden light. So if you're seeing someone radiating some golden light, you're seeing the emergence of their true self here. And until they transform enough duality that you see the gold even lighten up to bring forth the God consciousness within it. Because even God consciousness or white light lives within the golden light in this dimension. It is the life-giving source of love itself. So it even gives love life. So in truth, they're not separate. It's just a dimensional difference. Okay, how I explain it like this. So in the higher realms, golden light is an aspect of the white light. White light is God, it's everything. But in this dimension, because it's slower moving and divided, then the golden light is this, everything is made of here, and God lives within the golden light in this dimension. And you'll be able to experience the kingdom of heaven when you get through enough duality in yourself. It's not a thought process.
Beautiful. Yeah, thank you. This is gorgeous. Very, very beautiful. Thank you.
So
thank
very
you.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you, Susie. Does anyone else have any questions? Let me peruse through here.
I'm really loving the audience here.
Yeah, hey, Janelle. Yeah, I don't see any other hands up. Bridget, let me ask, does anyone from the Awake and Ascending family have any questions?
Let me check the chat real quick.
Okay. Okay, so while she is checking the chat, I also wanted to ask, because you talked about the difference between the various colors, do you have some type of like a color chart that's either included in your book or on your website that would give people just a little bit of an idea, like, you know, what would magenta color be or represent, or what was the blues, those types of things?
Well, we can kind of go through a magenta is like one of my very favorite colors. And that resonates with the 8th chakra at the base of the skull. That is the mouth of God, or the medulla oblongata. The colors of light blue, like one of the first readings I ever gave people when I went out in public, it was so scary, you know, 1996, to give this type of readings after working with the golden light, whereas aura readings. And you know, I can objectively and subjectively see the colors within the people. And so it's really not what the color looks like as much as what it feels like as well. And so now it's more of a synonymous experience. I don't, you know, so when you're, there are different realms of consciousness with different vibrations that emit different color frequencies. And so as far as the realms that they're in, they're all part of the one realm, you know, of God, but they're different. They have different reasons for being here and different services to provide. Light blues, that's from a star system, Sirius, that encompasses a lot of beings from that color, archangels, and, you know, Archangel Michael particularly, that's one of his colors. That a color chart, it depends upon what shade things are too. Like when people go red, they think it's a bad color, but when you're looking at a really beautiful, vibrant red, it's vitality and it's strong and it's passion and it's beautiful. And when you're looking at a red, or you feel a red that's a little more muddied, then that's more indicative of negative emotion. That's more of a different type of an aggression, an aggressive red. So, you know, different colors, depending upon their hues, have a different feeling, which emit a different vibration. But in the higher realms, you know, of God, there are just unbelievably beautiful colors. even the yellow is more of a mental color. It's indicative of something that is mental. It's not gold. Gold, people like when people start using the golden light meditation, they say, oh, I feel like heavy, kind of heavy. And I'm like, well, yeah, because you're in your body for the first time. So when you start working with your spirit, you go, wow, I really got some substance. It's like, yeah, you do. But yeah, it's kind of an adjustment for people in the different ways that the colors feel. But, then you lighten up. The golden light is used to reclaim the light of the soul. And the soul itself, people think is the spirit, but it's not. Because it is the spirit in truth, but you're not going to experience the soul as the spirit unless you transform the soul, which is divided in this dimension. And then when you transform the soul, then you discover the spirit within it, and then you lighten up and lighten up. And that's why I'm saying the absence of evil loves reclamation of the soul. So whatever you're willing to go in and face from non-judgment within you becomes a lot less scary. The only reason that it becomes something dark is because you judge it to begin with. So if you're just going down there as love, it's like, okay. Yeah. And then there's no thought, right? One of the main things we say in our meditations that we reiterated over and over and over again is don't think about what you see and don't think about what you feel, because as soon as you let that mind get engaged, you're dividing the experience. And so it's like, I train myself and I tell my clients, I'm like, just don't look, keep walking.
That's great. That's great. Hey, Stone, how are you?
Yep, I'm good. It's been a bit of a mental breakdown, rush.
Uh-oh.
I made it. Someone hacked
Yay.
into my Zoom and I lost everything. But anyway, it's all good. Okay, my question is Taurus, and I have a lot of orbs. Well, orbs is can
We're having a hard time hearing you, Stone.
It's warbly. Maybe she can put her question in the chat.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
All right. I have both orbs, ET, all sorts of stuff, and read Taurus. My question is in correlation to, it's a two-part one actually. Can you see, what's your experience with auras around children, and have you come across the darker attachments to these auric fields?
Yes. And we want you to realize this is a big part of my second book. We talk about darkness simply being love that doesn't know itself to be love. And also it plays in the world of energy. The world of duality is made of energy, just straight up, right? So when you or I or anybody goes through trauma, which we all do to some degree, and we never heal that, then it is because energy doesn't dissipate, it's everywhere. And it's goes everywhere. And if you could see negative emotion walking through the world, it is like this black inky mist. And you witness it because of the type of people that you work with. Now, when energy works in this dimension on resonance, so when you have a child or something that has some sort of trauma, it's vibrating the trauma, which attracts this energy floating around in the world, and then in resonance comes to the child. Now, there is no such thing as demons. It's all negative emotion. But what it does is it resonates with the person, becomes larger within the person, and the person becomes what then they want to call possessed, because they're not in control of their auric field. They're drifting up and out of the form. A lot of these people are affected because they're so incredibly sensitive to begin with. They don't know it. So they could be a natural medium. They could be something else that is able to really magnify this trauma through their vessel to become something of a dramatic nature that people want to call evil.
All right. And
It's a
second,
consciousness. It's an energy.
okay, thank you. And the second part is being able to see the different auric colors, energies around people and animals and plants, living matter.
Yeah.
Do you have experience with orbs? And if so, what is your recognition of their auric fields?
Oh, of the orbs, auric fields?
Yeah.
Well, the orbs that I've seen on footage and around me in my home are pretty much pink and like purple, and then they have this big, huge ray around them. Like, you know, there's this nucleus almost of an orb that is this pink or purple, and then it has this big circle around it. But as far as other kinds of orbs, it's what was the question about the orbs, about the auric field of the orb itself?
Can you find a correlation between the auric fields around orbs and living matter, us, plants?
Well, yeah, it's an aspect of part of who we are. Everything is part of who we are. So yeah, it would be a higher frequency that is showing itself that it is here. An aspect of us is showing itself that it is here. And so we interpret the magenta or the gold or the purple as a protector, something that is of the light. But there isn't really anything that's separate from us. So it is a part of who we are, showing us that it's there. The angels and things are we give them colors and we give them shapes and wings, but in truth, none of that is real. We just, we give them identities and things so we can get to know their energy better. Because when you call upon Michael, there's an energy that goes with that name. It's a vibrational frequency, and it helps you to connect with that energy much stronger. So there's nothing wrong with any of it. Or, you know, it helps you create this relationship with that part of yourself that is Michael. That is that light blue within you. And so orbs of other kinds, I mean, there's all kinds of lower vibrational energies that create these orbs as well. Did I answer that for you okay?
Very different to where I come from and my playground, but it works.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Stone. And we do have a question. Says, do we need to do anything different for an apartment in a large building versus a home?
No. The thing that we don't do is that we don't, like a lot of people say, well, I'm moving into this apartment building. I'm going to heal the apartment building. And we're like, no, not me, because I'm not being asked to mess with everything else. So word of advice to you, if you move into an apartment, just deal with your own space, because that'll be enough. So you'd use the same kind of technique as you do in a home as you do in an apartment. We had an example of how this manifests. We have a lot of wonderful, open-hearted people out there that go to a class. They don't have a whole lot of really good guidance, and then they're out to heal the world. And I will not do anything unless I'm asked to, because you create the division in saying that there's something wrong with everything that needs to be fixed.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have a question, sir? This gentleman in the middle?
Let's see.
We have a hand up.
Yeah. Hey, Patty.
Yeah. Hi, Sheila and Siobhan.
Hi.
Did I get the pronunciation right?
You did, yes.
That's probably a bit of the Irish coming out in me too.
I love Irish, yeah.
They're good because they like to laugh at themselves is another aspect.
Good people.
Now, my question in relation to these auras, I'm reading a book last night about biofield tuning, and written by Eileen Day McKusick. You might know of her. And she says in this book that she believes that a lot of our memory is not in the head, it's actually in the aura.
Yes, it's in the emotional body, and the emotional body creates the aura.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like when your mother dies, right? And she was your nemesis, and she's still there. It's like the energy of her never leaves you until you transform it. That dance is still dancing with her. And there's no such thing as ghosts either. It's like the body dies, the emotional energy stays in this dimension, and the spirit, which it goes into everything, right? So the lower part of the soul that's not been transformed stays here on the planet. That's why it's so clogged right now. So that is, say you have a horrible childhood with your mother, and then she dies. You haven't healed, and her soul that hasn't healed is left here. And it only can stay active because negative emotion plays off of negative emotion. And there's plenty of it floating around everywhere. So that's how these souls stay alive here. And then if you have issues with them, then you're carrying around that energy of your mother that's unresolved. And you're like, God, I felt better for about 2 weeks, but I can't shake this, kind of thing. So yeah, it's all energy. It's just all energy. Mm-hmm.
So how do you cure that issue then?
Well, what we have found to be the only lasting thing, and there's, tools with tuning forks, there's a million different wonderful things out there. But again, it's the consciousness that you're using that makes the difference. And I heal these negative emotions from the inside out. In other words, I used the golden light meditation, and I did the work to come to these conclusions, to this awarenesses, to this knowledge. I didn't have a coach, and I didn't read books because I don't read people's books. Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. That's an interesting thought. So I hadn't ever considered any of that. I haven't come across it before. So you're a bit of a pioneer in my book.
I am. I actually am, because, again, words don't teach, experience teaches. And these wonderful techniques people have to do things within people's auras, to do things, they're brilliant, but they're not lasting, because there is a flashpoint that has to happen where the energy is transformed. And you can't just make it so, it's not a magic wand. It's a way of being with what is. And through the techniques of love within the wounded self, it's allowing the wounded self to take the lead in the healing process. Now, that's why it's so important to work with golden light and grounding, to be able to get out of the mind and let things evolve and happen, which intuition takes 10 seconds longer before you get the answer. But we're so used to going to the mind that we just naturally want to go there. So you have to train the mind through the process to stay out of the way. And so if we're making love conscious around an area, say where there you can feel inner anger, and the child then allows itself to emerge from within that anger to show you that he is upset, you don't think about what you see. You don't think about what you feel. You allow yourself to observe through the eyes of love you're making conscious within this area of the body, and just watching what the child does, or this energy of anger does, in the presence of love. So you intuitively, within that part of the body, you encourage the child to do what it needs to express how it is feeling, because that's what negative emotion is. It's repressed emotion. And if people are used to throwing it out into the world through projections, but that becomes part of the problem, because in this world of duality, you've got all this negative emotion floating around, or you transform it from within you, so it doesn't. So your thoughts, your feelings, your words, everything create what we experience as the division in the countries, in wars themselves, in the pollution in the sea. Everything else is a result of what we have going on within ourselves. Everything is a manifestation of that. So when we hold the space of love and observe what is, and not think about what's happening, then we allow it to show us what it needs to do to express itself. And then we offer this part, when it's finished, love's embrace. sometimes these parts of ourselves don't trust the love that's being offered. So we don't care. Love doesn't care. It just loves, remember? So love just allows that to be the case and says, that's all right. Love is here. Love's always been here. And when you're ready, I'll be right here. And then you fill the area with golden light and you allow that part to just remain what it is because it's not ready to accept the love you're offering. Now, when you've been offered love as a child, it's the love they knew how to give you, but it wasn't the true love that is lasting, fulfilling, or transformative. So the kid in you isn't going to maybe readily trust the love you're giving to it then right away. So you have to allow your experience to unfold. So it's a whole way of not thinking. It's a way of being this love and giving things a chance to reveal themselves. And getting your answers on the other side of the process, rather than looking for who, what, why, when, where, and how, when the story now doesn't matter. It's not what happened ever. It's how you felt about what happened. It's not what was said, it's how you felt about what was said. So if you just get to how you feel and deal with that and transform that, you take everybody else off the hook. You stop talking about it and empowering it, you just transform it. And sometimes we have to get caught in these stories so we can hear ourselves, so we know where we actually need to love ourselves more.
Okay. That's a whole new way of thinking. Thanks for that.
You're welcome. Where
Thank
are you
you for
from?
that
Are you all from Australia?
Yes, I am. Yep.
I have a client in New Zealand.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's our seventh state, we call it. They don't like it, but
There's definitely a distinction of the
oh
Yeah.
yes, there's
So Stone's from New Zealand. She's like, no,
Mate,
no.
You Aussies can stay in Australia and we'll stay in New Zealand.
oh.
I have friends
Come
who
for a
lived in
visit, that's all right.
Yeah.
Sydney, and oh my gosh, it was so many years ago, and they were the most fun. Gosh, they come to the United States, we'd have an absolute ball. I was so exhausted after their visit, I have to sleep for a week.
Awesome.
Are you saying you've been to Australia, Siobhan?
No, I have not, but I had friends that lived there, and they would come to the States, and we would go out and have a grand old time. Fun people, it's just so much fun.
Yeah, well, there's plenty of area over here to have fun in.
Yeah. My daughter was the what do you call it? Student ambassador from the United States to your beautiful country back in her early high school days. And she was on a 3.5 week tour over there. She absolutely loved it.
Yeah. No reason why she shouldn't. Plenty of sunshine.
Nice. Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks
Thank
very
you.
much.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hey, Bridget. Let me come back to you.
Hello.
Hi.
So we have 2 questions so far. So Dr. T is asking if you can explain the technique of awareness, the special steps that you use.
To gain awareness, we recommend that you learn to manage your energy by way of grounding. Meditation teaches you how to ground, so you know the difference. So self-awareness comes from being aware of self, being in the body, and that takes you out of the busyness of the mind, so you're more readily able to be aware of the subtleties and the nuances that are around. So when you're present in the presence of your inner being, then you're able to feel more subtle things that are going on. You hear yourself more, you're aware of something before you would even say it. It becomes more of an intuitive process. You activate your feeling self, which gives you a whole nother level of awareness. Mm-hmm. Grounding.
Beautiful. Thank you. And then Michael asks, when did you know or understand that you were in direct contact with your soul?
Oh God, my life has moved so fast. I mean, I never even thought about it. I mean, when you are this way, you know, people go, I didn't even know there was such a word as a medium for many, many years. Like, oh, is that what they call it? When I became aware of my soul was when I started using golden light, because I had an experience with it. Rather than just knowing about it in my mind, I began working with the light of the soul, which is the love of it, to transform what wasn't in the light of itself. And so the more, you know, working with love is working with the highest part, you know, one of the highest parts of your soul. And so as you become in contact with that golden light, which is the love of your soul, and then work with your soul consciously to transform it, it's really profound and really beautiful. It's quite a nice dance, and you experience yourself as much more than the human you've been taught that you are.
Beautiful. Thank you. They're both saying thank you. I can feel it.
Thank you, Bridget. Let's see. Stone, you have a question. It says, are you about to tell the difference from born walk-ins to visitor walk-ins, different beings, or is it just a human vessel generated energy field?
Well, it's funny you should say that. Okay. So in my blessed life, and I swear I'm the most blessed woman in the world, you have to tell yourself that, and men, I'm the most blessed man in the world. Tell yourself that, because you really are. Anyway, in my life, and it's in my book, the whole thing, the whole story, I was blessed the first time meeting a legitimate walk-in. Now, when I say legitimate walk-in, this is how I understand walk-ins, and I was a very close friend, companion with him at times over a 20-year period until he passed in 2021. And for 21 days, I helped him transition, and he was one of the most beautiful beings I've ever met. This man was from the Yankton Sioux tribe in America. I was living in Santa Fe, New Mexico at the time. I was introduced to him, his chief, Golden Light Eagle. And at that time, my symbol was the golden butterfly. And so I walked up, I was introduced to him, and I said, oh, my symbol's the golden butterfly. And he said, oh, I'm Chief Golden Light Eagle. I'm like, oh, great. Well, I didn't know he was a walk-in at that time. Well, I was invited after that talk. I knew I was going to be invited because we were immediately hooked up telepathically. And so I went home and I just got the call and was given directions. And I went to a sweat lodge they held. And it was nothing less than profound. Then I find out he's a walk-in, and what had happened to him was, I think it was in 1996, he had been out doing something. He was standing up at the time. He had fallen and hit his head, and he was knocked unconscious. And when he woke up, he was an entirely different being. In fact, he had to learn how to speak again, learn some of the language. It was that he was that far removed. It literally is a swapping of a soul completely out of the form and replaced by a very high vibrational entity from a star system. So Chief Golden Light Eagle. Well, I had already been working with the Golden Light for a number of years, so naturally we're in resonance. And so we had a lot of fun over the years, and he was just really profound. And in his presence, a lot of wonderful things could happen inside. Well, after he died in 2021, I started seeing signs of a different kind. And it was drawing me, giving me signs to this energy that I am now also involved with from another walk-in, from the same star system. Their birthdays are on the same day, and they're from the golden light consciousness. And this is a much more powerful entity because the time is calling for that level of waking up to the love that you are. Well, this man is actually the successor to a Indian master of the golden light called Shirdi Sai Baba. So it's a Sai Baba from India, but he's actually Italian. And there is nothing less than profound awakenings and transformations that can happen when you are blessed with the ability to be in the presence of this being, wonderful vessel of a man, but there's nothing really left of the human. So when you're dealing directly with the beings of light to help you with your healing, it's so much better than dealing with a human with their stuff, which they're denying because they're only channeling. And, you know, you can't really, you know, I'm not saying anything about channeling because I don't want to judge it, but I'm just saying that when you deal with the respect for the channel itself goes without saying. But when you try to deal with the human, you're also dealing through the emotional filters that they have not transformed. So you're dealing with somebody who's split within themselves. And when you get a walk-in like this, the emotional body is like not there. You're dealing with the energy of this being that has taken over this vessel to be this in the world for our benefit to grow. I've never seen a child walk in before, never heard of that. I don't think it's very often you run into walk-ins actually, but I could be wrong about that. I don't know. I've run into two and I'm pretty floored by that, going, oh my God, how much am I loved?
Well, you've got a
Make
couple
that
on
3.
yeah, you've got several here tonight.
You know, I mean, so who's got a walk-in story? I mean, though that's beautiful to me. I think it's fabulous that, you know, that actually happens. I feel that we're at the time now that we can, those of us who choose to, can literally walk into ourselves. I think we're all here to take the spirit that we have and work with ourselves so deeply beyond those levels of separation that we literally walk into our own spirit. We tell our spirit, and I'm commanding mine, walk in, pal. It's just like when I was training it to stay below my feet, you know, I was changing an entire program, and here we are in this illusion of separation. But I'll tell you, these beings that walk in from the stars that are benevolent love can really help with the process of your evolution. And anybody who is a walk-in here, you know, this vibrating, this beautiful energy, it's really a gift. And thank you for whatever you do to have that happen. And thanks for focusing upon me in a positive way to help me along to just completely walk into the sword of truth. So that's kind of been what has emerged from within the love that I am, which is the God consciousness that I am, that is, you know, I'm calling it in to really commandeer the vessel a lot more. Yeah.
So, you know, speaking of Chief Golden Eagle,
Golden Light Eagle.
Yeah, Golden Light Eagle, of course, founder of the Sunfire Festival. We had many people on talking about that, Jen, who is organizing it, several of the women who are participating. And I'm just throwing that out again for people. The event will be coming up on the 25th through the 28th in Aztec, New Mexico. It's only $144. So if you do have an opportunity to come, it would be great. We'll see you there. The Conscious Awakening Network will be there. We'll be filming and sharing some of the beautiful footage with everyone later on. So yeah, if you haven't gotten your tickets, yes, there you go.
That's him. Thank you for knowing who he is. This man is so incredibly special, and he's still with us. I mean, to this day, he's still with us. And this is his brother, our brother, Shivananda. So I just am floored at the grace in that. And I mean, you can't make this stuff up. I'm like, your birthday is when? Are you kidding?
That's beautiful.
It really is. And, you know, it's just a real gift. It's just another gift we have here from all the other gifts that we do. And, you know, yeah, it's really a time in our evolution to really own our power, however we're calling that forth from within us. And wholeness is really important to, I feel, an important step. Love is a very important step to and allowing who we really are to merge from within that wholeness rather than separating ourselves out and only experiencing it in the upper realms of our consciousness.
Right. You know, one of the things that I found when I was writing my book, Walk-ins, Cosmology to the Soul, is the fact that...
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I did. I'm a walk-in. I came in 1999. I entered into the body of a 38-year-old woman with 3 children. And there's a whole story that goes with that, but that brought me to where I am today. And one of the things that I found when I was writing the book is there is a type of walk-in who is what I call a soul infusion, who actually is bringing in more of their higher essence from their really from their higher oversoul that's coming down through the Shantias Khan, coming in and anchoring into the body. But what I have found is that now, because the vibrational frequency is changing and shifting on the planet, that there are less walk-ins coming in because people are more readily available because of the frequency to be able to call more of their self in. And one of the reasons I believe that so many walk-ins came in earlier was literally to have boots on the ground, because with all of the false matrixing coming down, there had to be individuals here to hold the space and to be able to expand. And a lot of people coming in are directly from various star systems. And so they're coming in to bring back some of that innate knowledge for the planet. But I used to have people write to me all the time and say, "Oh, I want to be a walk-in. I want to." It's like, no, you don't. Just
walk into your own self.
Just change your frequency. Bring more of that essence in. So I do appreciate your perspective on that, and all of the questions. I do want to ask one more time if we have any final questions. And I want to just make a really quick run through here. See if we have any other hands up. No. So what I'd like, if you could go ahead again, tell people one more time how to find you, if they want to email you, what your email.
Can I put it in the chat?
That would be wonderful. But the other thing is we have people listening to us on various podcasts, and we also have people listening on the Awaken Ascending. And so we can see that here. It's absolutely awesome. But if you could go ahead and just speak that again.
Okay. Please. So my website is my name, SiobhanNicolau.com. So S as in Sam, I-O, B as in boy, H-A-N, NICOLAOU.com. My Facebook page is my name, Siobhan Nicolau, The Sword of Truth. Okay, so please like my page. I'm also on Instagram, which you can find there. There's a link tree there to find everything else. I have a YouTube channel, Siobhan Nicolau YouTube. You can purchase my book on my website or email me directly. The easiest email address to give you is M as in Mary, the number 3, M as in Mary, light@gmail.com. And for any of you who wish to reach out, let me know if you'd like to be on the newsletter. We'd be happy to put you on the newsletter, and we'll be happy to send you a complimentary MP3 of a golden light meditation.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Can I ask you a question there? Sheila, sure. When is that event in Aztec?
It's August the 25th through the 28th.
Okay. Where do I find more information on that?
You can just go to the Sunfire Festival.
Sunfire. Thank you.
Sunfire Festival. Let me see if
I got it. I'll look it up.
Yeah, it's just sunfirefest.com.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think it's going to be a absolutely fantastic event. There'll be a lot of, spiritual teachings that are taking place, phenomenal music. There'll be sacred fires, and of course, lots of communities. And so if anyone wants, it's 144. Get your tickets now.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's been an honor, and I love the whole audience here. You just all have such a beautiful vibration. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you for being here. We do sincerely appreciate it. And I want to thank everyone for attending tonight, for being in our audience, for people who are watching us on YouTube or any of our other Conscious Awakening Network platforms. If you'd like to join us, you can sign up at the consciousawakeningnetwork.org, or you can go to the galacticalliance.org, and there you can sign up. You'll also be able to find the replay for tonight, and you can also find the replay on Conscious Awakening Network YouTube channel as well. So if you want to rewatch this time and time again, now you know where you can go to visit. I would like to encourage everyone, if you have not already done so, to visit the consciousawakeningnetwork.org. We now have it's called Spacebook. It is a private community. It is very similar to a Facebook type setting, but this is where we can have conscious conversations without having to worry about saying the wrong words, being censored, etc. So you have to sign up to be on the mailing list in order to join that. You can also check out Now Can Radio. That is under our streaming media. You can go down, you can find the radio, just log into that. You can access all of our podcasting from the streaming media site. And our marketplace has now gone up. And so for people who are looking for an outlet to have items to sell, to get out to the public, we do promote as a whole, marketplace as a whole, but it is a place that people can go to sell their items. And hopefully in about 6 weeks, we will be launching Can Learn. Can Learn will be very, very similar to like Teachable. It'll be similar to Udemy. And so just keep checking us out. We're continuing to grow and expand. Our film department kicks into full gear, as I said, at the end of the month. And so join us, visit the site, visit the Galactic Alliance, and, just become part of our family. We'd love to have you. So until we are back together again next week, much love to everyone. And namaste. So good night, everyone, and have a beautiful week. Bye-bye.
Ciao.